Do art or do...
Just in general, how do you do that?
I don't know. That's what everybody asks. They're always like, how do you draw? And I'm like, just kind of think about it and just
comes out.
yeah.
How do you plan to use art once you graduate and leave high school?
Regardless of what I do, I'll probably always do art on the side, but I've also been looking into doing tattooing, like becoming a tattoo artist, so that's how I'm gonna do that. No, like I know a lot of people think like tattoos are trashy and stuff like that, but like I don't. Like I look at them as like walking art. Like if it's a true artist and like it's like their unique art on your body and like it means something to you, like I just think that's super cool. And I have a lot to learn. I've never like even held a tattoo gun, but like I watch lots of videos and follow a bunch of people on Instagram, so like I guess so.
Do you ever get discouraged or feel like your art isn't good enough?
I mean, sometimes there's always things that like are challenging for me still, but overall, like it's just like the experience. Like I enjoy like learning the new things. Like the struggles are what helps you get better. So sometimes I do, just like everybody does, but overall, I'm pretty happy.
How do you think your life would be different if art never played a part?
I don't know. Art's like a big escape for me. Like it really has helped me through like a bunch of stuff, and like I've never felt the way I feel about art about anything else, and like I don't know, if I didn't have like that fire passion, or like if I never felt that, like I'd be kind of sad.
I'm glad that you do love it that much. Right?
Yes.
Some people are good at stuff, but they don't love it.
No, I love it so much.
Good.
Why do you love art?
Why do I love art?
Assuming that you do.
I do. I do love art. It's just like, it's kind of an escape from like my reality. Like I know no matter what's going on, like I can always sit down with a pencil and just kind of like do whatever, even if it's not something like super good, like just like sketching something out. Like it really helps like relieve my stress and just kind of gets me back to like who I am.
It's your thing.
Yeah.
It's what you can put yourself into.
Yes.
Would you consider yourself a role model for young artists?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of cool to think about myself as a role model. Like I don't like to like, I don't know, hype myself up like that. Like that makes me feel kind of bad, but people do come up to me and they are like, wow, like you're really good, like show me this, and like it's a really nice feeling, and like being able to help people, like if they ask me like how do you do this, like it's nice to be able to show them.
And I have to ask, who's your role model?
Who's my role model? Bob Ross.
Yeah.
He's one of them. I don't know. I'm more into like pieces of art than like specific artists, but Bob Ross is my homie.
All right, well, thank you. I wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Sweet. You're welcome. That was fun and kind of cool.
I thought I'd participate. I'll be on camera later, so I thought it would.
I know it's an uncommon thing to look for, but I think that just inspires me to do it even more. I'm Lance Byer, and I love collecting music. It started with me surprised at finding 2 records I never believed I would find. Those were Slipknot's first and latest albums. Soon I found out that they were actually rip-offs, and I also found out that a track from Slipknot's first record had to be removed due to legal issues. Because of this, I know I didn't have the actual copy. Lo and behold, searching one time, I was actually able to find one original copy that was actually pre-owned. The album is still considered, to me, my holy grail. After seeing the 2 records sitting on my empty shelf, I immediately craved the works of more artists. After a while, I'd hold the collection I have today. I do have to say a major inspiration for me is definitely my mom. What got you into music?
Music's been in my life pretty much since I was a toddler running around. My parents really enjoyed listening to records when I was little. Some of the things my dad liked to listen to were like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Southern rock type stuff. My mom liked the Beatles and the Beach Boys and stuff like that, so I was kind of brought up into music, and that went on in our house the entire time I was growing up. So
And did you have any of the records you liked?
Well, I don't have the actual records or the 8 tracks that we used to listen to, because my dad he had a collection of 8 tracks, but Creedence Clearwater Revival, I do have a CD because I do like listening to them. Led Zeppelin is another one. This is probably one of the first CDs that I owned, was Led Zeppelin. And I also have something that is kind of foreign to the current generation, is a cassette tape, and Motley Crue was one of the top hard rock groups whenever I was in high school, and we used to listen to Motley Crue a lot when we were cruising around town in our cars.
Did your thoughts on it ever change throughout?
A lot. I have a very eclectic music appreciation. Like I said, I started out with Led Zeppelin and Creedence and the Beatles and Beach Boys, and went to probably the Mickey Mouse Club whenever I was, in my childhood. We listened to, the Broadway musical kind of stuff on records and things like that. Mary Poppins I listened to that record over and over again. I could probably sing some of the songs, but I won't do that to you.
What are your thoughts on me trying to start a collection?
I think that's awesome, because I think music controls your energy, and it can make you happy, or it can make you sad, or it can make you think, or it can make you relax. So I think having a music collection is awesome. I have a huge music collection. It's spread all through the house, basically. There's some packed away, there's some in my room, there's some in the living room, on my phone. I love Pandora because I can listen to just about anything on there. So
with all that, I still love using music apps. A good question would be that, since I have so many records, why would I need a music app? Well, I'm still on a massive hunt to catch up on history of the art, and I know how hard it can be to find things. Apps like Spotify help a lot with finding musicians or just songs. I also love having music just on the go. With this, I gained a craving for music history, and to move closer to that, I started collecting vinyls. My collection of vinyls is pretty small right now. I don't doubt that it would someday look as my CD collection does. When thinking of music, I'd have to say another big influencer is my brother. Why do you like music?
I like music because it makes me feel good about myself. I like listening to music. It kind of keeps me going in the day. I like different kinds of music. Depends on what my mood is.
How were you introduced to music?
I think I was first introduced to music probably when I was real little, driving around, listening to mom and dad's music in the car, and going places and hearing it in stores, and around the holidays having the sound system in the living room of the house. My dad always loved having music and playing it really loud, and getting to hear all the different holidays and different things like that, so it was a lot of fun. So that's pretty well where I got my first initial area in music.
Do you have a preferred way of listening, or?
I don't say a preferred way of listening. I kind of like to listen to music by myself or alone a lot of times. I like to share my music with other people if they're interested in my genre of music. But
right. Do you like any music apps like Spotify?
Pandora is really the only one I've ever used. I've tried iHeartRadio, and I like Pandora because I'm familiar with it and it's easier to use, in my opinion.
What do you think about the internet with Pandora and compared to CDs and older kind of versions of sharing music?
I like the newer version of the way you can get music, because it's easier to get. You can pick what you want. You don't have to find a CD trying to pick what song you want. You know, you can pretty well choose what you want to and get it right then and there and have it anytime you want, versus having to wait for it to come on the radio or trying to slip through a CD at the store.
To some, my collection is massive. To others, it's minuscule. But either way, I still have the passion to get a hold of my favorite form of art, music.
Well, it actually started out with the trailers for Dark Souls 2 because when I first saw it, I actually thought it was going to be a game about dueling and the such. But when I first played the game, I was drastically surprised to find out that it was just a game about dying and surpassing crazy trials. And it actually eventually, just because I didn't understand the controls enough, I actually just put down the game for about a year and a half. And then I saw Dark Souls 3 had came out, and I was kind of curious, so I started watching some people play it on YouTube, and then I decided to pick up Dark Souls 2 again, and I beat it about 5 times in a row.
Wow. You must be a very skilled player in Dark Souls 2.
No, it's not specifically Dark Souls 2. I mean, considering I've only got about 300 hours into the first one, that's with just now getting the new game plus 7. And I've been playing it since it came out, and well, not since it came out, but the April after the game came out in 2014, I've been playing it. And I mean, I'm not the best player. I mean, considering that there's one dude who managed to beat the entire trilogy without getting hit once.
Wow.
And if he got hit, he started from the first game again. Truthfully, the story is kind of on the weaker side because the writers, they left so many holes in it that they relied on the player to make their own story. In theory, that's a great idea, but everyone who comes up with these new parts of the story, they credit the writers for making such a great story when it was really the players. And, you know, even reading a little manual that came with Dark Souls 3's Day 1 edition, it states that the story is meant for each player to make their own story so it's unique. And that's a smart idea, I think, because it's different for everyone else. It's hard to just say a little bit about the game without mentioning its difficulty. Sure, the games are hard, but it's not like Dark Souls 2's attempt at making it hard. Whereas Dark Souls 1 made it difficult as in making it the odds seemed impossible, and you slowly made your character grow over time so you would feel that you are getting better. Or it's a combination that you're just getting better at the game and your character's getting better. Whereas Dark Souls 2, they just gave you tons and tons and tons of levels right at the beginning that it negated the challenge, and the only challenge was you would get attacked by 4 enemies at one time in almost every encounter. And then you have the third game that kind of mixed it a bit. They kind of, after Bloodborne came out, they tried to speed the game up a bit. So every enemy still is fairly telegraphed and you can get past them, except Lothric Knights. But the thing is the game, it's a difficult game, and it's about getting through these impeccable challenges that not everyone can get through. Did you know Artorias, the Abyss Walker, was one of Gwyn's 4 knights, and he claimed the title of the Abyss Walker by making a covenant with the Abyss. And when Ulusil woke Manus, his influence corrupted the citizens of Ulusil against their will and made them the forces of the Abyss. Artorias, accompanied by Sif, arrived there to save Ulusil, as well as the Princess Dusk, who was captured from the present day, but his task was overtaken by the Chosen Undead.
My office interns to be friendly, welcoming people so that when students come in, they can direct them to the right place. Mostly they're responsible for checking in, checking out of books, straightening out the shelves, putting books back in order. They also help keep the library clean. They run copies. They help teach other kids how to run copies. And if I need an errand, they run errands for me. It gives me extra time to do things I need to do, like order books and help kids if they need help on the computers or unjam the copy machines. And benefits for the students, well, they learn organizational skills. They learn how to greet the public and be in the public eye. And they learn how to take orders and complete jobs. I feel like I've done it 10 years in the library. I think I did it a couple years as a teacher, but I mostly had them in the library, so I'd say 10 years.
Mostly you have to put a lot of books away, and then I usually have to get a lot of paper for them for the copy machine and make copies, and then vacuum sometimes. And sometimes you have to go and clean shelves and just put books away. It's just general library things you'd have to do. Just wait to check people out, or just put books away that are needed to be put away, or just sit here and make sure no one's doing something they're not supposed to do.
Because we're in the counseling office, we expect our office interns to hold a lot of confidentiality because stuff happens in here and it's stuff that people can't talk about, so we have to make sure we get trustworthy students in here just in case they see some things, or someone comes in crying, they can't go tell their friends, things like that. But we also expect them to be respectful and be here on time, and don't try to leave before the bell rings, all that, do what we ask them to, things like that. We typically have them make copies for us if we need stuff hole punched, if we need things like that. We can't really have them file anything because it's permanent records or things like that, but it's usually, we have a lot of paperwork to do, and so we need a lot of copies made, and that's kind of the main duty of our office interns. It benefits us because it frees us up to do some other things that we need to do, and we don't necessarily have time to always be running to the copy machine and printing things off and things like that. So it just kind of frees us up and lets us work more with students one-on-one. We've just been here for 2 years, so the last 2 years we've had office interns, but I don't know about previously to that. I don't know about the other counselors.
The office intern classes started, they were already going when I became a teacher here. So I just kind of took it over a couple years after the original teacher who had it when I first came left the district, so I took the program over then. So as far as how back further, I'm not sure how long it's been here. There's a couple of different levels. For criteria to even get into the program, you have to have the 95% attendance, and you have to have a C average, a GPA, a certain GPA that the counselors check on and they sign off on. And as far as expectations for once you're in the program, you are to obviously be cooperative with your teacher. You want to make sure that you do things in a timely manner, that you, if ever you're working with something confidential, that you're being confidential about it for those who work in the office, things like that. You want to be honest, things like that. So those are a lot of the expectations that we have. Usually I am the one that chooses them. The office, those who actually work in the office at the front window, the office ladies will pick those. That way they are confident with who they are getting as far as their abilities. Then I let the library pick their own. And then usually if you're in a club or Stuco or in a sport, I try and place you with the club leaders or some coaches, things like that. After that, then I'm placing people, a lot of teachers request students. Doesn't always work out, but a lot of teachers do request students, and a lot of times they request that they don't want them on their conference period, things like that. That's kind of how I place them. As far as teachers, obviously it's nice help for us, so we get things copied so we don't have to take the time to go upstairs and spend time standing at the copier, things like that. We can be doing other stuff. They can run errands for us. They can, just the little stuff that can be done that's not confidential, we can get that kind of stuff done through them. As far as students, it's, I know a lot of students maybe just take it as a class filler. But I think a lot of times they build that relationship with their teacher that they're with. That's one thing. And another thing is that it's kind of a job scenario. They have to go in. They've got certain responsibilities that they have to do. There's expectations that have to be met. And so it's kind of in a job scenario also. So helps them that way.
Okay, I am interviewing Coach Moss about some weightlifting questions. Coach, what do you want your team's class perception of the weight room to be?
I want kids to come in there and understand that we're trying to get bigger and stronger, and you know, learn the basic fundamentals and techniques of lifting weights. So you know, that way when they go out on their own, they can create a workout, or they're going to know what they're doing when I'm not there or when I'm not around. So, but the big thing is, you know, we want to get a little bit stronger and a little bit bigger.
What do you expect out of all your students in class?
I think they know expectations by now, that they're, you know, they need to dress out every single day. They need to participate in the stretching, the workout, and all the lifts that we do. And if you do that, then you know you're going to get your points, and that's that. But yeah, you know, I would hope by now my kids know their expectations.
All right, what are some of the lifts that students do?
Our big lifts are bench, squat, deadlift, clean, and what's the other one? Push press. So those are our big lifts. That's the ones we test on. And then there's several other auxiliary lifts that we do as well. Depends on the day. If it's leg day, then we'll do some different leg exercises like calf raises, lunges, stuff like that for the legs. And then if it's upper body day, like bench day, we'll do flies, dumbbell bench, different things like that. So it just depends on what kind of day it is and what lift we're on.
All right, what does it mean to max, and how often do you do it?
The max means when you max out, you do the most weight that you possibly can for one rep. So for maxing out on squat, basically our kids will put on the most amount of weight that they possibly can and squat at one time. We usually max out every 8 weeks, so we do it 2 times in the first semester and then 2 times in the second semester.
Does weightlifting make you a physically and mentally stronger person?
Oh yeah, I think so. You know, if you really do what you're supposed to do in there and get after it and actually work out, yeah, I definitely think I judge a lot of my football players on how they work in the weight room because I see how mentally tough they could be or how mentally tough they are. You know, if they're just stopping short, if we have 10 reps and they're stopping short of the 10 reps, you know, and I think they could have got all 10. I know that maybe that day they weren't as mentally tough as they could have been, but I think that's why I like weight training because it's for everybody, and you know, you don't have to be the biggest guy in there or the strongest person in there. You just have to challenge yourself each and every day, and that's what's so great about it is it's basically, you know, a challenge to yourself each and every day, and you get to kind of battle your mind and see what you can do for that given day.
What made you want to be a weightlifting coach?
Well, I've been lifting since I was probably in the 8th grade, so probably since I was 13 years old, and ever since then, I mean, I've loved it and I've been around it, so it's kind of a dream job to be able to do something that you love, and I'm fortunate to have that. And you know, being a coach, that's another thing. You know, when you're a coach, you have to have a good weightlifting program, and so me being in charge of it is definitely a plus as well to make sure that all of our student athletes are getting the best out of our weight room in here.
Do you ever lift weights during off hours, and have you ever participated in events?
I have not participated in events, but I have lifted on off hours before. This year I haven't had a whole lot of time to do that, unfortunately, so usually I have to lift when I get home after school or after practice. So yeah, that's unfortunately, no, I haven't got to do the lifting during my prep hour this year a whole lot.
In your first year here at KHS, has anybody gotten hurt in this class?
No, knock on wood. Is there some wood around we can knock on? But no, they have not. So let's keep it that way, and that's one of the things about that we learned early on in this class is weight room safety. You know, that's the biggest thing in here. We don't want anybody to get hurt. So that's one of the main things we talk about the first couple weeks of school, and we got to make sure we have proper form and technique, and we know how to do things in the weight room properly. So that's the main thing is we want to keep everybody healthy and safe.
What classes did you take in college to prepare you for teaching weightlifting?
Well, mostly physical education stuff, but I think there's really not a specific class that teaches you that. They have weight training hours you can receive, you know, where you go have specific people come in and show you how to do stuff. But most of my stuff that I've known, you know, I've learned myself or have been shown growing up by different coaches and different weightlifting coaches of how to do stuff and how to properly, you know, use the techniques in the weight room and stuff like that. But just having done it so long, that's my biggest asset is just that knowledge that I've acquired since I've been, you know, in the 8th grade.
How many students do you have in class this semester?
Usually each class is around 21 students or so. So I think that's around 85 or so, somewhere around there.
What is the heaviest lift that the kids do in class?
The heaviest lift is deadlift. Deadlift is basically a lift that you kind of see your overall body strength. You know, you use legs, arms, lower back, all that kind of good stuff. Our heaviest lift on deadlift that somebody did this year is by Jacob Bierk, and he did 605 pounds. So that's pretty impressive and a great job by Jacob.
Athletes that do they lift lighter weight on the day of like a football game or a weight meet or something?
Yeah. Anytime there's a sporting event, we definitely try and make sure they're lifting lighter. We want to make sure that they're ready to perform for their game or their event, whatever it may be. So we want them at top notch. That way they're successful at their sporting event.
And last but not least, how long have you been doing physical education?
I've been doing physical education now, I guess 6 years. I think I've been in education 8 years, so I think about 6 years now. So it's been a decent time.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have
Okay.
for today.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hello, I'm Anthony Kaleb, and I'm here with
Miss Overcars.
to ask a few questions about the door situation. Are you ready?
Yes.
Right, question one. How do you feel about the doors being locked all the time?
I like the doors being locked. It makes me feel safer here at school. I think it's a really great idea.
All right. Question two. How long do you think this change will last?
I think it's going to last a really long time because of everything that's going on in the world and safety issues. I don't see it changing.
All right, last question. Do you think it might change in the future for a long time?
No, I think that we're going to have to probably continue to keep our doors locked just for safety and just the way the world's going now. I think it's a good precaution.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony.
It's PVTV News. Kirby, sign out. Hello, I'm Anthony Kirby from PVTV News. I'm here with
Robert Gaddis.
Ask a few things about the doors being locked. All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Question one. How do you feel about the doors being locked all the time?
Well, I think I'm used to it, and I'm going to be used to it for a while. I think it's the right thing to do. Something that should have been done a while ago, but it's pretty useful.
All right. How long do you think this change will last?
Maybe for the next couple of months, probably maybe just this year.
All right. Do you think it might get changed in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Probably after the new primary center opens up and all the new buildings get done.
All right. Last question. What problem does it cause you?
It doesn't really cause any problems for me because I'm used to it. I get to my classes on time with this new thing, so yeah, it's working.
All right. Thank you for your time. Anthony Kirby from PVTV News. Sign out. Hello, I'm Anthony Kirby, and here I'm interviewing with
Miss Honor.
about the doors situation. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hey, question one. How do you feel about the doors being locked all the time?
I like the doors being locked all the time. I feel safe.
All right. How do you think it might get changed in the future?
No, I think they will continue to keep the doors locked for now.
All right. What problems does this cause you?
The only problems it has caused me is I had to get keys to all the buildings, and it's hard to hear when someone knocks on our door to get into the classroom.
How do you resolve that?
Well, we just keep our other door open and tell everybody to knock loud, and then I had to go get keys made to get into the buildings.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Anthony Kirby from BBTV TV News, signing out. I'm Anthony Kirby. I'm here with
Miss Cole.
a few things about the door situation. Are you ready?
Sorry, what's that?
Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
How do you feel about all the doors being locked all the time?
I like the idea of having the doors locked. I think it helps provide a sense of security for all the students and all the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it might get changed in the future?
I don't think so. Given the world that we live in today, I think it's safe to have the doors locked. My hope would be that something else could be put in place, or just more things could be put in place to help enhance the security.
Alright, what problems does this cause you?
Really, the only problem it's caused me is just making sure I don't forget my keys if I'm going out of the building.
How do you resolve them?
Just need to make sure to have my keys with me.
Alright, thanks for your time. I'm Anthony Kirby from PVTV News. Sign out. Hello, I'm Anthony Kirby. I'm here with
Coach McKenzie.
Ask a few things about the door situation. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright. How do you feel about all the doors being locked all the time?
The doors being locked all the time is something I'm personally used to. As I grew up, that's one of the things that I was used to, is having to buzz in and check in and everything. The doors being locked is one of those things that is geared towards everyone safety-wise. Everyone wants to be safe within the schools, especially with what's been going on, unfortunately, with around their country. And so with the doors being locked, it's hopefully we are looking to promote student safety and building safety for everybody.
Do you think it might get changed in the future?
Honestly, I don't see it being changed in the future at all. I actually see it, they're looking to improve the building situations of safety and everybody in it. So the locking of the doors is just the first line of the defense that we're trying to create for anybody who might want to come in and, you know, God forbid, do harm to anybody or anything in the school.
What problems does this cause you?
The only problems, I wouldn't say problems, I know it's been an annoyance for students involved just because they're used to all the doors being unlocked, and then all of a sudden the doors are not made easily accessible anymore throughout any of the buildings, so they have to kind of detour their route to class or get around the building. So really, you know, it's the only small adjustment I've had to have is just let students in periodically and those coming to visit office officials.
Right. How do you resolve it?
Really, there's no way to resolve the doors being locked. Really, the only thing that you can do is kind of adapt to it. Like I said, I don't see the doors policy being changed whatsoever just because of safety reasons for everybody within the building. So it's one of those things that everyone's going to have to take in stride and adapt to the new changes that are taking place within the building.
All right, thank you for your time. I'm Anthony Kirby from PBTV News, signing out. Hello, I'm Anthony Kirby. I'm here with
Mr. Cook, Perryville High School.
Ask a few things about the door situation. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Question 1. How do you feel about the doors being locked all the time?
I think that the doors being locked all the time is a good thing for our student body. It's very important that we take safety and security #1 at our high school as well as all our buildings on campus here in the district. We made a decision as an administration to make sure those doors were locked so that we could promote and provide and let our community know that we're being as safe as possible for our students, and that we know as a staff here at Perryville High School who is coming in our campus and in our buildings, and we let them in the doors.
All right. Do you think it might get changed in the future?
I do think it will get changed. I don't think that the doors will be unlocked, but I do think that right now our administration is looking at some options for better safety and better security with some camera systems and the possibility of some buzz-in systems that would have the doors locked until people had permission, but it would make it a little more easier, a little more feasible for people, instead of having to get up and walk and open the door all the time, that we could have a button or an electronic system or a key card system possibly to allow students and people that belong on our campus to get in the doors a little easier.
What problems does this cause you?
It's not necessarily caused me problems. It's posed a few challenges as far as who do we have to open the doors. What our secretaries have had a little more extra duty with that. We have had to think about logistically where we need to place teachers to watch certain doors to make sure that they are being watched every day between every bell. So I don't know that those were problems. I think that some of those things were good in terms of now we've got a plan of action for having our teachers in place where they need to be to know all our doors are being covered. we know who's entering the building at any given time throughout the day, and we have supervision in those areas that we might not have been supervising as well as we should have been. So I think it's actually been a positive thing. Yes, there have been challenges, and we've had to make some extra plans to cover those areas and those doors, but as far as problems, I don't think there have been any.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. No problem, Anthony.
This is Anthony Kermit from PVTV News, signing out.
Hi, my name's Nick, and I build Gundams. My first Gundam I built was Azeroth. He is from the series Iron Blood Orphans. I haven't really got to see that series yet, but I have seen some previews to it, and it seems pretty interesting. I do have some other Gundams from that same series, and a few other ones. This is the easier model to build out of the model. It is a high grade, it's the smallest one you can get. You also have master grade, real grades, and many more on. It also comes with this little machine gun and a battle knife, but I didn't bring that today. And he also have this giant sword he comes with also, which is very hard to put in his hand. This also took me a little bit of an hour to build. He's very easy, with less parts, and he is probably a year and a half old right now. That's all I have today.
Hi, my name is Rylan, and I build Gundams. Well, unless you can read whatever the heck this says, you gotta go by photos. So basically, if you would turn the page, go to wherever you need to go in the book to look how to build it.
So it's all in Japanese?
Like here, you would not be able to read that.
So Rylan, how many parts and all that goes into building a Gundam?
Hundreds, I guess, of parts. Here's one that has multiple things on it. And here's some more with some stickers. The inner frame. There's a spring, a little tiny spring in there. That's definitely what we need.
How long does it normally take for someone that's experienced in building Gundams to actually make a size like this one?
Well, if they really want to take their time, it's normally a month.
A month?
Today we are going to be building tall geese. We're going to be building its chest, and Nick get part 3. CP. CP. PC. PC.
PC.
PC3. PC go home, it's right up there in the corner.
So what is PCCC? What's all that?
This is, like, you got your hard plastics, and you got like this rubbery plastics that you can bend, do whatever with.
Those are also the joints what make
Yeah, it's
him
mostly the
move.
joints.
It's one also important part towards the Gundam. If you didn't have these, you couldn't really connect them.
Plus they come out very easily. We're going to put that there.
Building the whole Gundam, yeah. So how is it you put it together? Is it kind of like Legos, but not?
Pretty much. You snap pieces together. Follow the instructions.
Or if they perfectly just slide right in.